Hey y'all, I'm Carol. Welcome back to my Creating Corner. If this is your first time here, please click subscribe. You'll be able to find my corner very easily if you do, and then we can stamp together again. Today, I'm getting started on my Easter cards. This is a fun and easy fun fold. I'm using the Rejoice in Him stamp set. This is from our mini catalog that we still have a couple months left, but you've got plenty of time to order the stamp set and get these cards done to send out for Easter. So I'm using the Rejoice in Him stamp set. I'm also using the Fern embossing folder. I'll be getting to that in a few minutes. And the layering Diorama dies, the layering circle dies, and we'll be doing some fussy cutting. So let's get right in. Okay, the first thing that I need is my card base. Now I've gone ahead and scored my card base. The card base is basic white. It's 9 3/4 inches long by 5 1/2. And I've scored it at 3/4 of an inch from both ends. I also have a basic size card base. It's the 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, and as you see, I've already done some cutting just to save a little bit of time. This is going to be what we'll be doing our extra cutting and stamping on. So now that I've got my 9 3/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base, and I've scored it at 3 1/4 on each end. Let me tell you, the Stampin' Up's trimmer here, we've got the cutter, the cutting blade, and the scoring blade, so you can cut and score both of them on this one unit. You've got the arm that comes out, so you can measure all the way to 17 1/4 inches. And the numbers are written very large, very dark, and even midway up the platform. So you just have to pop it in, 3 3/4, very easy to find. Put that down, use your gray to score. Then I'm just going to turn it over, 3 1/4 on the other end, pop the bar down, score with the light gray, and there we have it. Get that out of the way. Okay, so the interesting part that we want to do is we want to do this circle. Now, if you'll notice, when you open the card, there's the whole circle there. The circle that we're cutting out from here is not the only circle we're cutting. You'll see I've cut one out. I need something to, okay. You'll see I've cut a circle out of my scrap also. So I do need this circle, and I'll be cutting an additional circle here. Now let's call these pieces, we're going to call these panels 1, 2, and 3. The way that our card is going to fold up when it's completed, panel 3 will fold up, panel 1 will fold down. That way you've really got panel 2 is your inside. Okay? So let's go ahead and get our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. We put it up here. Now the layering circle dies are really fun. You'll see there's scalloped circles, more delicately scalloped circles, and then slightly different sized plain circles. What I'm going for and using is the plain 3-inch circle. So here you see, now the cutting blade is on the inside, so your size is not really the out to out, it's more like the inside to inside. So if I put that like this, and you'll see it's 3 inches. Let me move this a little bit, see if that light helps. Okay. So there we've got 3 inches. Here's the 0 point, and it comes to the 3. Okay, so we want our 3-inch circle. Now, what we have to do, we're going to open the card, and we're going to put our circle towards the left-hand side of the card. We'll leave about 1/4 inch. You don't have to measure it perfectly. And we're not doing it exactly in the middle, exactly across the score line. We're going to move it up just a bit. Okay, so it's more like 60-40 than 50-50 on either side of the score line. So I'm going to get it up, put it on my cut and emboss machine. Move that over just a tad bit. Oops. This table is not the best table in the world to be doing this on, but that's okay. There we go. So now I've got my circle cut out here. Let me put my circle die away, since I've already cut the other one. Okay, so now I've got 2 circles cut out. And yes, one of them has the score line on it because I've already scored the card. You have to score the card first so you know exactly where to put your die. Now that I've cut my circle out, I'm going to go ahead and emboss my panel 1, the front side, the top side. I'm going to emboss this with my fern embossing folder. Now the ferns, they just go every which way, so you don't have to be particularly worried about up and down. The thing I do like about our Stampin' Up! Embossing folders, we have the line across the bottom, so especially if it's a very vertical or horizontal design, you can really make sure you have it lined up straight. But I'm not really too concerned about it with this fern looking thing. Now, this is the front. This is the part that will be showing on the front. The side of your embossing folder that has the line and that says Stampin' Up!, that's your top. So whatever is put up on this side is the side that'll be on the front. So let me get my my Stampin' Trimmer and Emboss back up here, and I have this embossing plate. So I've taken everything but the very one thick base. I'm putting my embossing folder down on the base, and the fold part, the connected fold part, goes into the machine, and then I have my embossing plate that I put on top of it. And there we go. Look how pretty that is. These 3D embossers give such a lovely deep design. So there, I've got my embossing done. Isn't that just so quick? Now let's go ahead and just get this fancied up a wee bit. Here I have a 1 by 5.5 inch strip from the Awash in Beauty DSP. It's just so cute. I think it's so springy looking. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue it in here. Get that out of the way. Like I say, it's 1 inch wide, 5.5 inches long. Now this does have an up and down, so you be careful. And I'm going to leave a little bit of room at the bottom. And I'm just going to put that straight across that way. Okay. Lift that up so you can see it. See where we're headed? Okay. Now, the next thing I want to do, I've gone ahead and I've cut with the layering Diorama Dies. I've gone ahead and cut two little panels. One is 3 inches long, the other is about 2 3/4 inches long. So I've got those already done. So let's get some stamping going. Okay. I am going to be using the Stampin Blends markers. Our Stampin Blends markers are alcohol-based ink, so we need to use the Memento ink. This is a water-based ink, and alcohol and water do not mix, so when you are using your Stampin Blends, if you use the Memento pad, it won't smear the outline. So here I have the figure from my stamp set. Now usually I would say tap, 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 3 taps, and that's what you need. But with this, it's a different kind of pad, and so I'm literally going to rub it. And there you see I didn't get any ink around there, but my stamp is completely inked up. So I'm going to stamp him in the middle of this circle. And you know, best practice, let it kind of soak for just a minute or so. And there we have him. And if you want to clean up very easily, you get one of these simple chamois and just 2 quick swipes, and look at that, how clean it is. Love my simple chamois. Yes, they get very stained, but they still work. Okay. So in addition to that, I'm also going to get my Pear Pizzazz. Okay. Well, before I do that, let me go ahead. Now remember, we said 1, 2, and 3. Panel 3 folds up, panel 1 folds down. So on this side, right, I've folded it up. This is where my pretty, shiny, fancy DSP. This is the dry brushed metallic DSP. It's 3 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I'm going to go ahead and just put it on that panel just to make sure that it doesn't fall off my table somewhere. Okay. So let's get that set down. Okay. While I've got the glue out, I'm going to go ahead, and this is the circle that was cut out from the card base, and here's the circle that I have stamped. I'm not going to color the whole, well, yeah, I'll color the whole thing in. These are the Stampin Blends. They come together. We've got bronze and ivory. So I'm going to color Jesus's face in with the ivory. These Stampin' Blend markers, you barely have to touch the surface of the cardstock. The ink just flows out so beautifully. So there we've got that. Now I'm going to take my bronze and I'm going to do his clothing in the bronze. As you see, this bronze is not a metallic color. It's just a nice brown color. If you look at these markers, you see one end has a thick line on it and the other end has a thin. The thin line shows it's the fine point tip. The thick line is the brush tip. So I'm using the brush tip. just gonna personally, I like when there's a bottom to show me where to stop, but there we go. Maybe I'll give it a little bit dark in there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and, to make it a little more stable, I'm going to take this circle and put it on the one that I cut out from the card base. And remember, your typical card base is 5.5 by 8.5, and that size is more than enough to use for all your extra stamping and cutting. So there we go. So that way it's a little thicker, a little more stable. Okay. So before I get it attached, before I get him attached, see, and he's going to fit right in there. So to put him on there, we're going to put that down, set him in, and then glue it that way. Okay, that's how we're going to put that together. But we'll do that in just a minute. What I want to do now is my palms. So using Pear Pizzazz, I've already stamped 2 palms. Now if you'll notice, the palms kind of bend towards the left. They sort of, so you see it bends to the left. Well, if you look here, I've got these 2 that are bending, not a big bend, but they're leaning left. But I wanted this palm branch to be on the outside, which means it has to go to the right. So how did we do that? Well, I'm going to go ahead and take my little paper trimmers. I love my Stampin' trimmers. These are the best little scissors, and you know, it's use them and you will be a convert, I'm telling you. So let me get that to the side so I don't mess up. Now, the way that we get a stamp that kind of leans to the left, how we get it leaning to the right, it's called mirror stamping. And let me show you how we do that. This is our silicone craft mat. Okay, it's just a couple bucks, and there's so many uses for it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it to stamp an image, and then I'm going to get the ink. I'm going to turn it into my stamp pad. Okay, I'm going to turn it into my stamp image, whatever. It's not going to dry on here right away, so when I stamp on this, the ink is going to remain wet, and then I can put my cardstock down on it and rub it, and I should get a beautiful mirror image. So here we've checked it. My stamp is all inked up. So there, I'm going to put it on my silicone craft sheet. And now I'm going to put, let's see how that works. I put my plain white cardstock on there, and I'm going to carefully lift this so I don't smear it. And look how beautiful. And this one is bending to the right. You see the difference? So, I'm just tickled over that. This is just a quick fussy cutting, and let me do that real quick. And of course I'll be able to feed. So I've got these all fussy cut out. Now the next thing to worry about is our sentiments. He is risen, celebrate his love, and I'm going to do the powder embossed sentiments. Okay, so we want, and we're going to do the dove. Okay, So the way that we do the powder embossing, on the smaller of the diorama, we'll put He Is Risen. Let's find which direction it fits best. There we go. I'll do it like on that side. And then Celebrate His Love will go on the larger. It fits very nicely there. So I have my embossing powder. Now I've been using them in these little bins for years, but I'll be honest, the new stamping embossing tray is fantastic. And it saves a lot on the room. It's just I already had these tubs already filled, but actually when I use it up, I'll be saving the little jars, and I'm not going to keep using these tubs. It just takes up a lot of room. So I'm going to use this Stamp Embossing Buddy, and one of these does come with the embossing tray, by the way, and I'm going to put it on my die cuts so that I only emboss where I want it embossed. Okay, so I've got my Versamark marker, just a couple little tap, 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 taps. He is risen. And then we pour the powder over it. Look how pretty. And the powder doesn't stick anywhere that you don't want it because I use the embossing buddy. So let me just put that over there. And now, and you notice I moved the Versamark far out of the way. You don't want to spill your embossing powder on your Versamark pad. That would be very bad. So now just on Celebrate His Love. Covering it's a good idea too. There we go, another good result. And before I completely put everything up, I'm going to do the dove. So tap, tap, tap. And here I still have plenty left on my scrap paper. All my extra cutting and stamping was off of that one general card base size. So I'm just going to put this on the side here. Now this is the last thing we'll be embossing, so I can move that out of the way. Okay. There we go. Looks so pretty. Okay. Now I get my heat gun. And it's going to be loud. Okay, you notice I'm holding the sentiments with my tweezers. You don't want your fingers too close to the heat gun because it's got to be hot enough to melt plastic, right, or whatever the embossing powder is made out of, and it will burn. So now let me just fussy cut the dove real quick. There we go. Now we are almost ready to put this whole thing together. And I did not grab my dimensionals. Let me just those. Okay. I just grabbed all kinds of things here. Let's see what we need. Okay. I'm going to be using some dimensionals. These dimensionals are awesome little foam, some people call them pop dots. I grabbed some mini ones, that's fine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the He Is Risen and we're going to put one of the palm fronds on the back of it. And I think probably the easiest way to do that is just use a glue dot to hold it initially. And we're just going to put it like that so it's behind it. And then we're going to take a dimensional and then kind of glue it with the dimensional. That'll definitely help. These things cost like 2 cents each, if that much. So I like to use a lot of them. And then it's just very easy to peel off. This will go here. And now we're going to take this palm frond and put it on the edge. And we'll move this over just a tad bit. There we go. Let's move that over a little bit. There to there. Okay. Now we'll put this one on here. Yep. I know you would think to make the whole thing before putting it on the card front, but if you put it on the card front and then add your second palm frond, then you'll be sure it's not going to be hanging way off the side. You know, it's gotta, you don't want it hanging off the side too much because you don't want it to get all bent up in the envelope. Okay, now, so He Is Risen. Now what we want to do, this guy I want to put right along the edge here. Okay, as you see, it goes right along the edge. And which means this is where my glue dots will go. The reason I'm using the glue dots for this part instead of the wet glue, I want to make sure nothing oozes to the layer below, because then you end up effectively gluing your card shut, and that is not what we want to do. Check for a minute there. I didn't think I had the record on. That would have been sad. Okay, so let's get that right along the edge. Isn't that lovely? Okay, now let's attach Jesus. We're going to put him right here. Okay, let's see. Right about here is the midpoint. So the glue is only going to be down here. Now we're going to be gluing it down onto foil. And if you're going to be gluing it onto foil, you really want to, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this and, okay, I just need to make sure I keep my adhesive below the score marks. On the score mark and below the score mark, and that should be fine. Yeah, I don't like to use the wet glue on foils that much. I just don't really trust it because it can't soak in. So that's why I like to use either the tear and tape or the Stampin' Seal or just the regular glue dots. There we go. Okay. So now to make sure that we get it in there right, make sure that this is folded up. Fold that down, and then we're going to just take him, sit him in place, press, and there, and it comes open. Yay! Perfect, perfect. And now we need to put the sentiment on the inside. Celebrate his love. Okay, see, now it shows a little bit right there, so we don't want it on the circle. Okay, let's get some more of our tear and tape. I like tear and tape. And let me tell you too, if you're using vellum, use tear and tape to adhere it. It does not show through your vellum. I promise you. Unless you've got an odd vellum. The weight of Stampin' Up's vellum is really good. It doesn't show through, even though it's very translucent. So yes, tear and tape is an awesome adhesive. There we go. And we need to put the dove up. So let me get a dimensional. Right here, we'll put it on the dove's tongue. And we're going to put the dove right here. Lovely. Oh, isn't that pretty? And then I've got some of these iridescent jewels. These self-adhesive iridescent jewels. Now the way I get them off, sometimes these things will just pop off and go flying, but if you put your finger on it and grab it with a tweezer and put your finger on it and slide it to the side, I typically have better luck not losing it and not popping it across the room. Let's just get a couple little sparklies there on either side of Christ. Okay, almost done. There, we've got our front completed. Yeah, it does hook right there just a tad, but that's okay. Now all we have to do is our inside sentiment right here. And once again, I'm going to use my Pear Pizzazz. And we're going to wish you joy and love this Easter. Now, tap, tap, tap. See, and it doesn't get all over everything, and then you can stamp it on your scratch paper. It's all inked up, so just a couple little taps. We never ever push and smush. Tap, tap, tap. And I need to stand up for this. And we're just going to put it right here. And, you know, once again, best practice, I suppose, would say leave it there to let the paper soak up the ink. But you don't have to. If you're in a hurry, you can just pop it and be done. So there, isn't that pretty? Wishing you joy and love this Easter. Celebrate his love. So here is my Easter card. I hope you like this card. If you do, I'd really appreciate you giving my video a thumbs up, and I will have all of the measurements and the products I used in the description below. And of course, If you don't have a US demonstrator, you can pop over to my 24/7 store at https://creatingwithcarol.stampinup.net, and that is Carol with an E. You can pop over there and get all the materials I used. And again, if you don't have a US demonstrator and you don't have a catalog but you'd like one, drop me a message and I'll be more than happy to pop one in the mail to you. So I really hope you did like my video. I hope you'll give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe, and until next time, keep making the world a beautiful place. Bye!